we're back again for the
second take.
Yes, this is the official intro now.
Yes.
I just say we're back. Hello Anna, how are you today?
I'm actually very excited for today's episode.
It is the special episode, the Christmas special, the New Year special, Is there any other holiday this month?
More
it's
like
the
a New Year.
special yearly.
End of the decade as well.
The best albums of the year. We might even do best albums of the decade
Yep.
sometime next year maybe.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're here today to talk about our top 5 albums of the year. Since I've been feeling quite insecure about things,
Okay.
and I'm not fulfilling that extreme music.
Crave.
Yeah. Like I'm talking about music, but it's not extreme enough. And every year I feel like that, I'm listening to Arctic Monkeys or something, and then the end of the year comes. So what was the best album? And it was fucking death metal band from God knows where. So it's the same this year. If you like extreme music, you're gonna love it. If you don't, well, you had Anna here. She has some albums for you too. So let's start off things in a festive Christmas mood.
Okay.
With a black metal band.
Okay. Okay.
Called Bethlehem.
I've heard of them.
Jesus Christ. It's a black metal band from Germany. You know what black metal is, right?
Yes. Was that the documentary we watched? Was that death or black metal?
That was black metal.
Black metal,
yes,
okay, so I'm aware.
That's the
movement.
The dark stuff,
okay.
Yeah. So Bethlehem put out an album this year. It's called, sorry in advance, it's called Lebendig. I hope I didn't destroy that pronunciation. I have no idea how German works. It's, how would you translate that?
Like live or living empty.
Yeah. It makes sense because some 30 years ago, Bethlehem was that depressing genre of black metal. It's quite depressing, you know. What if we added depression to that depressive genre? So they created something called depressive black metal, and later on it became a whole scene. And they really have their own sound in black metal, which is a miracle, if you ask me. And they've been doing it for quite a while. And for this latest album, I was a bit insecure at first because they got a new vocalist. And for the first time it was a female vocalist from the band Darkened Nocturne Slaughter Cult. Darkened Nocturne Slaughter Cult.
Okay.
That's the name, yes.
Okay.
And she actually did an amazing job. She sounded a bit different from her usual Darkened Nocturne Slaughter Cult stuff she does. It was really magical, very haunting vocals, very passionate vocals, very depressing vocals to get you in that Christmas New Year mood. You haven't heard the album, right?
No.
But you know about Bethlehem?
I've heard of them. I know they're quite popular on the metal scene, more like the underground metal scene, because I've seen a couple people on YouTube that do reviews, and it's often mentioned and often reviewed, as I have seen.
Yeah, it's a very good band. You know, they put out a lot of quality stuff, even back in the 90s. I mean, they've been doing black metal for 30 years, almost 28 years, I think. And with this latest album, they really came back and showed us that they still got it, and they're still so much ahead of the game. Depressive black metal or depressive suicidal black metal was the official label of those bands. It came and went. It was popular for a few years, then it kind of fell off. You know, it never really got anywhere. I mean, that was probably the point of it. But they didn't chase the whole scene that they invented. They did their stuff, and it came out so much better than I honestly expected. I did not expect that this album would be like so high up on my list, but it did, and it was really amazing. Like, if it's the cure for happiness of this year, you know, if you're feeling anything positive, Lebe Declare by Bethlehem, you're not gonna feel it anymore. It's great, 10 out of 10, would recommend. Go get depressed. Thank you. What was...
I wanted to ask a question, because when you just described it as like depressive or a suicidal metal, like what is it? Just the lyrics that make it depressing and suicidal?
Well, I'd say it's black metal inherently is depressive and suicidal. I mean, just look at the Eurasian scene in the 90s. Even the like most popular black metal songs like Freezing Moon and
Anything by Mayhem is very depressive.
Dead wrote before he killed himself. Like that's what black metal was built upon, so it made sense. But it was also built on dark imagery and war imagery and stuff, and people tend to go more towards that generally, like Satanism and all that. But it was always a part of black metal, so it's not surprising. But I don't know. The lyrics are a big part of that, really big part. But also the music, it's like a bit slower than your usual black metal.
Gloomy? Like gloomy?
Yeah, very gloomy, very dark, very sorrowful.
Menacing?
No, not really menacing. It's just you want to
sad.
sit in a corner and die. That's the point of it. But it makes me feel nice. It's a good album.
I can understand if someone is going like through a hard time, they would want to listen to music that they can relate to in a way, and that's kind of like, oh, I'm not alone in this completely. Yeah. It's kind of comforting. I can understand, definitely.
So what was your fifth best album, or how do we say it?
Was this first on your list or fifth?
Fifth.
Oh, fifth. So we're going from fifth.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay. I placed a K-pop one as the fifth one, as my last one. I mean, there were many. And that's the only K-pop album on this list.
K-pop album.
Because they just put out albums all the time, like throughout the year.
It's your favorite
Yes,
K-pop?
it is.
You're forgiven then.
It's my favorite K-pop group. They're called 17, even though there's 13 members, not 17 members. But originally, there was supposed to be 17 members to debut, but they gave up.
Okay.
Basically, but they still wanted to keep the name because they kind of already got a small fan base on it. It wasn't. And they released their third full album, an ode. I think it's their third. But that was actually a second album they released this year. They released a mini album before this one, and it was quite... I mean, I'm not sure if this is popular in other genres as well, but in K-pop you have like mini albums that are different from full albums.
EPs.
And then you have EPs, like it's like 3 different categories kind of.
Okay.
And this is a full album, and I had to put this as my favorite, not only because I love the group so much, but because I'm used to seeing them in this very bright, like the cutesy, young, boyish vibe, and that was like the image they sold, basically. It was all like very vivid colors, and like music videos and like soft pastels.
So it's the total opposite.
And now it's the total opposite. Now in this album, where they went like completely dark,
they did black
mature. but like the main color scheme you could see in their videos was a black or metallic, those metallic-ish colors. And before, like all of their songs were like very, lovey-dovey, very stereotypical cliche love songs that you see in K-pop all the time. But now it was quite different because they kind of matured into this more grown-up love, I guess. And one of the most popular songs off of the album is called Fear. And fear, it meant as in, I'm afraid that I'm like the toxic person in the relationship or in this love. And that's what the song is about, basically. And the whole album is just filled with like sort of their growing up, I guess, and stepping out of that mold that they were once in.
Okay.
As like the youngsters, like mischievous, rebellious youngsters, now they're like, okay, now we're growing up in the industry, we're becoming a more serious group, we want to create more serious music with serious tones, because they also actually produce and write their own, all of their songs. Okay. Which, I mean, they did that from the beginning of their career, but now I guess
there's like 13 of them, like you gotta do something.
Well, one of them is like the main producer. He's there for all recordings, he writes most of the songs, and the thing with this specific group is that they're actually kind of split into units. So sometimes you have like hip-hop unit, vocal unit, and performance unit. Okay. And they all, on each album, they like get their own song, basically, like just for them. Okay. And even this time, my favorite song off of this album is called 24/7. It's by the performance unit. I just like their sound the most, I guess. It's what appeals to me the most.
It's like 3 different groups.
No, it's just...
In a group?
Not... Yeah, kind of, but they don't like do separate things, you know. They don't have like separate concerts or separate albums. They just have like a separate track on one album.
It's like having 3 bands in one band and they all do different genres. But they
not completely different, but usually the vocal unit, they're all like very, very good vocalists. So they usually do like those ballads and slow songs. The hip-hop unit obviously does like more of the rap heavy songs. Okay. And performance unit is usually just very upbeat, and they usually focus their songs and music for the shows, for the live shows, because they get like their own little time during the concerts where they perform those songs, and you can see it was specifically imagined for like that choreography and things like that.
Why not just have 3 different groups?
Because they work amazingly together as like 13 members. Because when you combine all of those 3 into one, it's
K-pop
something.
Finest, I guess. Okay.
I mean, I recommend if someone just wants to hear, like they just want to give one K-pop group a chance, but they're not sure what sound in K-pop they like. Yeah. Listen like to their album and figure out like what unit, for example, you might like the best, and then you can kind of find your way from there.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I put them as the 5th ones.
The 5th. Okay.
Yeah.
We're moving on then from K-pop back to the genre.
I'm assuming it's metal. Oh, also sorry that we're sometimes looking down. We have a timer so that we don't go...
We're in a hurry. we gotta get this done. Okay, guess the genre.
Metal.
What type of metal?
Black metal.
Black metal.
Okay.
It strikes again. I do this almost every year. Like, I swear, last year was like, okay, I'm gonna have something other than death metal, and my top 5 was like 4 death metal albums and then 1 indie album. And this year, same thing happened to me, but this time with black metal, because 2019 was great for black metal, if you ask me. Now this one is a surprise. Like, people probably don't expect this. Like, I don't think anyone put this album on any list. It's Profanatica.
I've never heard.
I haven't heard of them until I think last year or this year, I'm not even sure. And the album is Rotting Incarnation of God. It's just straight up black metal. Pure black metal, simple black metal. And the album it deals with the whole black metal things. It's very it's nothing new, but like a funny thing that I found with metal, you don't need to do anything new as long as you perfect the old things, the things that work. And I think that's why I actually listened to this album so much over the past, few months, because at first I was like, it's okay. Then I was like, I like the production, I like this, and then I ended up listening to it like really, really a lot. So when it came to like some other albums, and this one I'm gonna put in my top 5. Well, I listen to this a lot more, so I'm gonna put it up there. It's very weirdly, I'd say, produced. The bass is louder than the guitar, which is absurd in the hello there,
hello,
producer, which is absurd in the whole black metal genre. The drums are like really out there. The vocals are your standard, I'd say, black metal vocals, lyrics, and they really do have nice live shows. Like I've seen a few videos, haven't seen them live, unfortunately. They dress up like priests, but like all in black with red crosses on them. It was pretty. I didn't know that, but it was a nice little stage look. But they really can play, and they haven't been doing it for like very long, maybe a few years, but they have perfected their craft and they really know what they're doing. And the whole album is like it's disgusting, you know, in a good way.
Okay.
Like you listen to it and you're like, "Ugh, it's that good," you know. I usually say that about death metal, but this time, like, a black metal album that made me feel like I'm listening to death metal. I'm guessing you haven't heard the band. A lot of people haven't. They're actually on a popular label, Season of Mist, which is a French label, I think. But they haven't gotten much promotion or anything, and people don't really talk about it that much. But you should definitely check it out. Rotting Incarnation of God. The album, 10 out of 10, great black metal. Yes, you know, another black metal, but this is not the depressive kind, this is the oppressive kind, you know, you hate everything and you want to destroy everything. What do you think about wanting to destroy everything in your music?
Doesn't really sound like the type I'd listen to, obviously.
Okay.
I'm just curious, like, does that stage, like, are those outfits, are they like a constant thing, or is it just like for that like specific show or tour?
They don't do many live shows as much as I'm aware. I haven't seen I don't even think they have social media. I should actually check that out. I just found the album and I was like, wow, this is a gem. I need this, and I kept listening to it like over and over and over. I never really got into the whole what's behind, you know, the music. I was just in it for music, and it's a great piece of black metal, great piece of extreme music in general. Great work, great production. I mean, some people call it awful production, but it works. So I'm gonna say it's great album. I loved it. Let's move on from black metal back to
okay.
You have.
It's quite a popular album.
Okay.
I think a lot of people anticipated it, especially since this artist, his previous album was quite successful as well, because it was something different than in his usual career and in his past albums. It's Igor by Tyler, the Creator. He's my fourth place. Everyone was so hyped about this album. I remember everyone just waiting, like, yes, like, just drop it. And I don't know, I just have like this bond with him because he's so different in like the hip-hop, R&B community, specifically the album before this one, which kind of did like blow him up.
The one with beats and stuff?
Yes. The one that like really blew him up. And it was also like basically his coming out album also, so it was just like wow, because you don't get to see a lot of like LGBT people in the hip-hop,
and let's be quoted,
on the hip-hop scene.
I've been smashing white boys since 2004.
And this album is just so intriguing, and I personally think I prefer this one to his last album and to his previous albums even, perhaps, and most songs as well. His image in like his music videos and for this whole era, let's say it, of his career is just amazing. And if I could find that wig, I'd wear it every day, honestly. It's just so iconic. Like, you don't expect to see a hip-hop artist, a rapper, do that. You know?
Rappers have always done weird things.
Yeah, but he's just really out there. Yeah. And not only that, it's not straight up like rap and hip-hop that's, I don't know, too heavy on like the lyrics and the bars and everything. You also get to see him sing a bit more and be more emotional, and there's a lot more R&B sounds to it. Some songs have questionable lyrics.
I mean,
in Earthquake, for example, Earthquake, one of the most popular songs off of that album. Yeah, but like there's a part where one of the rappers, which I can't remember the name of, I think he's a Lil something. You can't, like, no lyric video can understand what he's saying at that moment. So there's usually no lyrics for his part when you look at it. But I never looked up like the actual lyrics.
Because he's mumbling, or?
Yeah, it's like so weird. You can't make out any word. It doesn't even sound like rap. English.
It's modern rap.
Yeah, and I get it. And at first I was like, why would he feature like this in that song? Because it makes no sense, because the song was like amazing and like groovy and everything, and then he put that part in. But then I realized that's kind of...
Yeah, he's pushing it.
Yeah, like that's kind of what made the song so great in the end.
You got experiments to make it better.
So. Yeah, even though it's weird, it worked somehow. I don't know, he's a musical genius, basically, when it comes to that sense. Because it's hard to be the different dude in hip-hop and to do something new, because hip-hop is like constantly pushing the limits in rap music as well. I mean, well, they are pushing it in perhaps wrong ways, like with scandals or who's gonna roast who the most and things like. I mean, that's something that was always part of
the trend of dissing Eminem, you know.
Oh yeah, but it's not often or common to see someone so experimental and artistic, like actually trying to make that sort of... It's so hard to explain because it's so different.
It's experimental, it's death grips but popular.
But good.
Fair enough. Fair enough, they had one good album, maybe 1.5. The rest of you can go hate me in the comments, like Death Grips is...
Yeah, so basically I would recommend Tyler, especially his newer stuff, to people that just wanna like kind of get into hip-hop, rap, R&B and that type of stuff, but don't just wanna dive into the heavy things, or if they're like bored, which is hard to get bored of, like the classic rappers, the OGs and stuff like that. Of the old school rap, I mean. Like, this is definitely like a modern, new wave rap, let's call it. So
the Gen Z of rap.
Kinda, yeah. So that's why I placed it at number 4 of my top 5 albums.
Thank you, Tyler, for doing rap a favor and doing good things in rap.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any similar artists like to him right now out there?
Brockhampton, kind of. They're usually compared.
The K-pop group that's not a K-pop group. Brockhampton.
Oh, I thought you were talking about someone different.
They're literally like a K-pop group that's not a K-pop
Yeah, someone
group.
like said it's One Direction.
I really don't like them. But I really don't.
I don't know. I like their music. I don't mind it.
It screams basic white girl.
Yeah.
And all the people that listen to them are basic white girls. I mean, sure.
Although I have to say, their solo projects that they were much better than.
I wanted to mention that. Like, I don't remember his name.
Kevin Abstract.
Yeah, the dude. like a few years ago I heard a few songs, they were okay, but all of them coming together was very, very
chaotic.
Cringe to me. I don't know. Some people find black metal cringe, so to each their own.
Yeah. So how
Speaking of metal, guess the genre. Spill
top
the
3.
genre wheel. Top 3. Okay, this is the heaviest.
The final countdown.
This is the heaviest one on the list. Profetus or Prophetus. I have no idea.
What?
Profetus. That's how it's spelled. How it's.
Oh, okay.
How do you say it? I have no idea. It's from Finland. They're a band from Finland. Do you know what is a funeral doom metal? Yeah.
I know of doom.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Okay, so you have metal as this heavy, fast music, extreme music. And doom metal is like, what if we make it slow and sad and slow? Okay, so we get doom metal. Well, funeral doom is like someone took doom metal and said, but what if we did it again? Like, let's make it even slower, even sadder, even heavier. So I think the slowest metal genre there is. It's very, very, very slow. The songs are very long, very dramatic, very, I'd say, rich in instruments. Like, they're often generally, some background noises and sounds and everything. And it's a funeral atmosphere. And this album, The Sadness of Time Passing, is my favorite sad thing that exists. And you get the message. It's very, I'm not gonna say depressing. It's just sad. Like,
it can be comforting for some as well.
And very, very melodramatic, I'd say. I mean, it has funeral in its name, so it makes sense. But it's a blessing, honestly.
Do they use like the organs?
Some bands, I think, use them. No, not this one. This one is just a regular,
Oh, okay.
typical.
I don't know. For some reason,
they're not just experimental. I mean, funeral doom, it's pretty straightforward. There's not much to experiment with. Although bands do tend to experiment. And this one is pretty. Like, it's extreme music. They're growling. It's very, very low growls, but they're very slow. Like
that must be like really hard vocally to do, I think.
Well, I don't know, depends what you think is harder, like going really fast or just holding one growl like forever, and
I don't know. I mean, well, growling in general sounds difficult to me because I physically can't do it. I don't know the techniques and everything. I know you have to like learn how to do it properly so you don't like hurt yourself.
Yes.
So I can imagine how much like hard work went into to produce a low and long tone. Like that must be difficult.
Funeral doom is like that. Like the singing is very, very like the norm is the very low growls. Sometimes some background singing maybe, but it's not usual. It's usually very low growls, very slow. Like I don't even know, like the drummer hits the drum like 8 times in a minute. Like it's
for some reason I keep my head is filled with the song like Ave Regina. Like the beginning, the male choir. It sounds like, almost like, I imagine it sounding like almost like not cult-like, but I can imagine like people in like robes.
Yes.
And like
you get yes.
People in robes, like in a not basement, but like something like dark, like a dark space, like
for tank dungeon.
Yeah, like or beneath like a church or monastery or something
very
like that.
Church-like.
That's how I imagine it. With your description of the genre.
That's the premise of all black metal, doom metal, and some death metal. So, yeah. And we're doing this again, I guess. So my third album here is Prophetus or Prophetess or Prophetus is it's spelled like that. It's one word. Do you know what is funeral doom metal?
No.
No. Well, I explained it to you once. I'm gonna do it again for the sake of the podcast. It's you have heavy metal.
Yes.
It's fast. It's heavy. It's called heavy for a reason. It's heavy metal. So you take that heavy music. Some guys were like, what if we make it slow and even heavier, and you get doom metal? Well, then some insane people were like, what if we took doom metal and did it again, like make it even slower, even heavier, even more insane? And that's how funeral doom was
invented.
Came to be. I'm not gonna say born because that would be against the funeral doom norm. So it was invented, it was spawned, it was summoned into the world. And this band is from Finland, I think, pretty sure. And the album is called The Sadness of Time Passing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my favorite new sad thing that exists, and I love it. It's a very slow piece of music. It's not that long, like it's under an hour, so for a funeral doom album it's good. It's a very, how did I say it? Before we had to do this again.
What?
When I describe you the atmosphere,
Oh yeah, it's very church-like,
church,
cult.
Dungeon under a church.
Yeah.
Cult meeting, they hooded figures. Yeah, that's the whole, I'd say, premise, the norm of funeral doom. And it's sometimes, we talked about how it can be experimental, but in itself it's very straightforward, it's very melodramatic, it's very heavy, and it should be very heavy, and I think that's what's so great about it. So it's like death metal, I told you about vocals, like very, very low growls that go on for a bit. There's no fast singing, no fast playing, no fast anything. It's very slow. The drummer goes and he hits the drum like 4 times in a minute, the guitar goes like, and then he holds that one note for like half a minute. The singer is dying in the background while they're all wearing like robes, and crying at the funeral because it's funeral doom. So when it comes to that genre, and I think like doom metal as a whole, this is the best of this year, if you ask me. I did have some other doom metal bands like Lord Vikar, also from Finland, and they play like traditional doom, like like traditional Black Sabbath doom, the classic, and they really made a great album. It's an honorable mention here. It's called Black Powder, and it was great. Also there was Son of the Dying put out an album, which is 90s doom, which is a whole genre for itself. Like 90s doom is a genre of music, quote me on that, and that was great. But I think that Prophetus takes they just did everything. Once again, it's nothing that's new. It's nothing so special, nothing too innovative, experimental. It's just funeral doom in its purest form, but perfected. I already said that about the last album. I'm gonna say it a few more times because I think that's what happened to metal music this year. Like it was not the new stuff, it was the good old stuff that worked, perfected, and made great again. Make metal great. Don't do politics, kids.
I don't know what to say because
I don't listen to sad music.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I called myself the other day. Sorry for interrupting. Somebody asked me, like, have you heard this? And insert anything happy. You know? I was like, fuck man, I don't listen to upbeat music at all. Like,
for me it's usually only upbeat music. The pattern so far from your side was that the music was quite sad and more and gloomy and dark and things like that. Well, in my case, really, music basically was very, very, very empowering. There were many artists that released so many good albums and songs, and it's usually female artists, like my next one.
Hey. Before you continue, sad music can be empowering.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna say how empowering. Ashniko, she's a very, very new artist, and she released an album, Hi, It's Me. She has like a very interesting background, first of all. I think she's only like 2 years older than us.
Is that the one screaming at the table music video, the Asian girl?
No.
The other one, okay.
Ashniko was actually born in North Carolina, in the US, and it was quite a conservative community, and she's usually said like all I listened to was either country music or some Slipknot, like secretly. And then she moved was a teen, not even a teen, like 13 years old, to Europe, specifically Estonia and Latvia. She lived in those two.
Oh, that's Eastern Europe. Hey.
She lived in those two places for a really good amount of time of her growing up, and then she moved back to London to pursue her music career. Because she always wanted to pursue music career, but she always was kind of surrounded with people who were not that encouraging, especially for the type of music she wanted to do.
I mean, you go from North Carolina to Eastern Europe, it doesn't get good.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how to specifically. It is pop music. It does have that pop sound, but she also does a lot of experimenting with like electronic music, techno, with involving some synth vibes into the pop. Sometimes it sounds quite aggressive because she raps, but she also sings, and this whole album was sort of like her self-realization, let's call it, album. She got out of a very toxic relationship, and she's basically singing how that person was so horrible, but he thought that he was the best thing that ever happened to her. And throughout each song you see how she's developing into this healthy mindset, into a strong, independent woman who don't need no man.
A healthy human mind.
Yes, because she was quite manipulated in that toxic relationship, and this is basically her singing to her freedom now, finally, from that person. It is quite heavy, it is quite also sexualized, which I personally adored, because today you don't have a lot of good songs about sex, and sexuality in general, to be quite honest.
Have you heard of 9 Inch Nails in the last
I'm saying now, today,
years,
I'm saying today, and the genres that I listen to. And specifically women. Usually when women do this stuff, it's very
explicit.
Very explicit. I get it. It's the same, but she does it in a very realistic way. She doesn't fantasize, let's say, or anything. It's very straightforward, and a lot of people are starting to really like her, mostly because TikTok and how her song blew up.
Oh, of course, TikTok. What's going on? Okay, we have enough time, don't worry about it. Now that you have mentioned that, Slipknot and country, I want Corey Taylor to do a country album.
Okay.
Quote me on that as well. Tell him we're gonna be done on time. Moving on. So for my second album, second best. We have Cavalier or Chevalier. I think it's Chevalier. They're also from Finland. Country of the year, everyone. Thank you. Quote me on that. Country of the album. Destiny Calls.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a bit weird because it's not black metal, believe it or not, or it's not doom metal, it's not extreme metal at all. It's traditional heavy metal with some speed metal. So it's like Iron Maiden, you know, it's very... It was done so long ago. It's like metal from the 70s and 80s. Traditional, but it's 2019 and they did it, and it's one of the best things like to come out. Like even the production was made so it sounds like it's recorded 30-40 years ago, you know. And it's I don't know why I haven't mentioned their singer when we did the whole female vocalist thingy, because she can sing. I showed you this band when you were over at my place once. I'm not sure if you were listening.
I don't know if I can remember.
Anyways, Destiny Calls, it's a fucking amazing album. It's traditional heavy metal and at its best done, like, once again I'm gonna say it, it's nothing new, it's nothing experimental, it's nothing unexpected. It's exactly what you expected and better. Like perfected, the sound perfected. And it's amazing, it's great, I loved it. Okay, how about we hurry up to this one and that one, then we can talk more about the top ones.
Okay, so since you already mentioned like a very good female singer, vocal and performer, mine is similar to the previous one I mentioned.
Harry Styles.
No, he's my first. Second is Doja Cat. She also got popular because of a viral video on YouTube, memes, basically her song Moo, and I think also a couple of her songs were on TikTok. I'm not sure. Yes.
Song? Oh, God.
I mean, she admitted that she made that song out of a joke. She intentionally made it to be a meme, basically. But a lot of people have this image of her that she's not that serious and they don't take her seriously as a musician.
She made a serious album.
Yeah, and she did say the album is called Hot Pink, and she chose that name because she thinks it's a color that brings you like warmth and feelings of love. And this whole album is mostly about self-love and just, again, quite empowering, specifically for females, but a lot of men love her music and they respect her because she has amazing rapping skills. Okay. And she also produces her own music, writes it, does everything on her own. And one of the most important things about her and her career is that she's quite young. She was born 1995 and she's like blowing up immensely, and I think it was like about time that another girl hip-hop or R&B rap artist is being put into the light, apart from like Missy Elliott, which is like 50 now or whatever. And if you follow, if you follow the scene, you know. Yeah, and you don't have a lot of, you have like, I don't know, Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, but they're like
good female rappers.
I'm saying, I'm not a big fan of those. I like these type because she still has those roots of like Wu-Tang Clan. Like you can see she was brought up on that type of music. And you can sense that vibe in her songs as well.
Hey, as long as she's not doing mumble rap, I respect it. I respect mumble rap. Do whatever you want. Just make it sound good. Is she the new Pink guy?
No.
Pink girl?
No. So yeah, she's second place as well. Okay. So let's go to our...
Okay, so
to the first places.
Stop this, reset this.
Okay, timer.
Drum roll. Album of the year. Guess the country.
Finland.
No, it's not Finland.
Canada.
Ukraine.
Oh.
How the fuck did we get there? Let me tell you a story. There's this. Guess the genre. Guess the genre. Guess the genre. It's black metal. Yes, it's black metal. There's this band. Drudk. I have no idea how to pronounce it.
How do you spell it?
Drudk.
How do you spell it?
D-R-U-D-K-H.
That's not English spelling, but okay.
Drudk.
Okay.
It's Ukrainian. They do black metal.
Mm-hmm.
And they do black metal. It's their last album that came out last year was called They're Often Dreaming About the Sun. I nearly cried to that album. It was very an emotional experience. And then this year they put an album called A Few Lines in Archaic Ukrainian.
Oh, okay.
And it's very like, how do I say this? It's about Ukrainian history, you know. That's actually a theme in black metal. Some people take it to nationalism, to next level. They're not going that far. They're not that extreme. They're just love their country in a positive way. And even though it's black metal, it's very positive thing. And they even use, since they're singing in Ukrainian, they even use lyrics from some famous Ukrainian poets, and they incorporate that into your music, and it's very, very melodic. Like it makes me feel so peaceful listening to that album. Like it's extreme music, but it's so calming, so peaceful, and so cathartic in a way that I just couldn't avoid it. I listened to it a whole lot, and it makes me a bit sad that not that many people were talking about it. So and Tusk really makes great music, great black metal. They don't do live shows, they don't do interviews, they don't do anything. They just make the music because they like the music they make. And I think it's the most beautiful thing you can do in music. And I think this is to me at least, the most beautiful album made this year. And once again, I'm gonna say this for like 10th time today. It's nothing experimental, nothing nothing that new, but it's just perfectly executed. Black metal that's very calming, cathartic, emotional, and just a beautiful piece of art that should be cherished and loved. And if I keep going, I'm gonna talk about this album for 2 hours.
Okay.
You do yours.
Yes.
Then we do yours.
So first place for me is Harry Styles. His newest album came out like a week ago. Fine Line. Highly anticipated album. I know a lot of people have prejudices about him because of One Direction and everything, but
I am one of those.
Yeah, but when you actually like listen to his music, it's so amazing. You can hear like the influences of Fleetwood Mac, Elvis Presley even, just like the old school rock vibes. And he actually admitted that he was mostly on shrooms while making this album, which you have also like that sort of psychedelic funky vibes in some of the songs. It's not an immature album, as some might think of a pre-boy band pop star. It actually talks like about heartbreak, and it's you can actually like see the phases of grief throughout songs. Because he had to just end this I'm not really sure if it was toxic, honestly. Just this relationship, and now he's aching, and he's showing that through the song, and like basically it ends in a positive note. The album ends in a positive note with the song Fine Line, saying like we are the fine line. Like, okay, we're done, and now I'm okay. I hope you have an amazing life on your own, and I'm all gonna have an amazing life.
Breakup album of the year. Harry Styles.
But it is an amazing album, and I think people should really give him a shot if they still think that he's just that dude from the boy band. He wasn't even my favorite when I followed. He wasn't. He wasn't. He was the Irish guy, the only Irish dude. Okay, and that I only like Harry's music out of all of them.
Do they still make music?
Yes, they all have solo careers. And Harry, I think, is one of the most successful ones out of them. Just because of that rock and roll sound.
I'm not even gonna be judgmental about it. You do you, man.
Yeah.
You do you. Have fun.
Oh, P.S. He also in his latest live show, he had Stevie Nicks sing on stage with him. which was amazing. Amazing experience, 10 out of 10.
As long as you're doing what you love doing, and not as long as you have some integrity, you know.
Yeah.
Just don't do corporations, kids. Thank you. Honorable mentions.
Yes.
Okay, so the albums they were like in my top 20 or something, but I didn't put in my top 5. New Overkill, trash metal done right. It's called The Wings of War. It's very green and it's fucking great. New Exorder, also like groove trash metal, more in the southern skies is the album. If you like Pantera, and I know a lot of metalheads do, check that out. New, where was I? Devourment, which is the brutal death metal album of the year, if you ask me. You know, it was pretty great. Like it almost made it to the top 5, but I haven't listened to it. Like it was the numbers. I haven't listened to it that much. The new Sun album, you know, the Sun, the band that me and my friends always play on Discord, and they were like, what the fuck is this? Why are we playing this? They put out 2 albums this year. They were both amazing. I love them both. If you like drone metal and music that shouldn't make sense, but it does, check Sun. We're gonna put a picture somewhere, like here or something. And that would be my 2019. It was a great year for metal. I say, especially for trash metal. I think there were some really good gems. Black metal, of course. I mean, it's up here. Doom metal was great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was a pretty good year. Like not that many new things, but perfection of old stuff was done, and it was done amazingly. Before we sign out,
just a few honorable mentions from my side. I won't go too much into it. One single, not album, just a single, Far From Born Again by Alex Cameron, amazing. I mean, check it out for yourself, you'll see why I love it. Brockhampton Ginger, but I did adore Kevin Abstract's Arizona Baby album more. When it comes to K-pop, The End of Nightmare by Dreamcatcher, One by Taemin, and Anything literally by Blackpink, BTS, a newest that was released this year.
Blackpink in your area.
Yes, and that is it for my honorable mentions, and now it's time to
How do you think
sign off.
that the year went musically?
Honestly, quite successful. BTS, for example, got an all kill. They basically got all the possible awards on award shows that a male artist could get. So, yeah.
I don't think I have anyone awarded for anything over here, but I just awarded them with top 5s.
Yes.
So this is official. You get the award. You're doing great. Thank you, both of you on that.
Yeah, it's time to go. There's people that need to use the space, so we don't want to be too selfish, and we're gonna sign off now. Until next year.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll talk to you in our next episode. Leave your albums in the comments below. And
Let us
that's
argue
it.
And
Yes. We'll see you then.
Yes.
Bye.